confusing a vortex to tap into. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Sedona International Film Festival 2023. I'm Tonya June Moore. It was my pleasure to be here with the first interview on Monday morning, and it's my pleasure to be here with the last interview on Saturday afternoon. I want to say thank you to all of our sponsors, all of our volunteers, the hospitality, the hotels, the restaurateurs. I mean, everybody involved in this festival, including this community. Thank you for making it possible every single year for us to do some pretty magical things for our filmmakers. Our last two filmmakers with an amazing film. Your names and what's the title of your film?
I'm Ashley Avis. I'm the director of Wild Beauty, Mustang, Spirit of the West.
And I'm Edward Winters, producer, Wild Beauty.
Wow. And I've seen some footage of this. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Can you please give us a brief synopsis before we watch the trailer?
Sure. It's Wild Beauty. We created it over the course of almost 5 years from conception to completion. And it's an immersive experience into the world of wild horses and the beauty that we have in our own backyards here on the public lands in the western United States. And then also we go into the journalistic side of what is befalling wild horses and why they're disappearing. And we go into some of that harder messaging as well.
Excellent. Well, let's get up on the trailer and have everybody watch it with us. It's
Great.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
The first time that I saw a wild horse, it was right at the edge of dawn. And I thought they looked like ghosts.
This is an area that used to have thousands and thousands of wild horses.
There has been an aggressive roundup and removal of huge numbers of wild horses on our public lands.
There are lobbying dollars in Washington, D.C. that we're up against. It's a David and Goliath situation.
It takes the accountability out of the system.
If the United States follows its own laws, they would be protected by the Endangered Species Act.
This kind of injustice is happening all around the country.
And it should terrify every single American who cares about wild horses.
Sweetheart, run.
We're asking you, Mr. President, stop this roundup.
They go across the border, and once they go across the border, they don't come back.
It's a policy that puts small farmers out of business.
It diverts the public's attention away from the effects of overgrazing by commercial livestock.
I'm not sure what we're about to encounter.
Oh my God.
I can hear them crying.
We've been listening to it for hours.
We want to keep you here.
It's some conspiracy.
This is a government agency that is broken.
Just keep rolling.
This is a subject that's near and dear to my heart, but not only the wild horses, but the wolves and many of the atrocities that are happening on our lands, our public lands, that we pay into.
Yes.
And I think if people really out there in the world really understood how much of their tax dollar went and was misused by the Bureau of Land Management, it would end.
Yes.
Man, did you drive that message home in the film?
We do.
We very much do. We tried to balance when we set out to do this, it was actually, I grew up riding horses, but I didn't know that this was happening on our public lands. And we're narrative filmmakers predominantly, and we got the opportunity. I wrote and directed Black Beauty, which is on Disney Plus.
Wonderful.
And in trying to, we were led to this issue and ended up making this documentary because as I was researching Anna Sewell's themes of why she wrote Black Beauty in the late 1800s, a lot of people don't know that it was an animal welfare plea to protect the horses of her time. There were deep messages intertwined into that narrative. And so in modernizing Black Beauty, I decided to make Beauty a wild horse to honor why Anna Sewell wrote the classic, and hopefully through that film help incite change. And so we started filming real wild horses to basically film some B-roll to incorporate into Black Beauty. We did it independently, and then we started going down this rabbit hole of why is this happening? And going to the roundups and starting to ask the harder questions and becoming bolder. And then we started really realizing how broken this whole situation is.
It's completely atrocious. And what was the eye-opening experience for you producing this film? I mean, as a producer, my gosh.
Well, when you look at it from an economic standpoint and it doesn't make any sense, and you look at it from a biological standpoint and it doesn't make any sense, you kind of have to start following the money. And when you realize that it's a handful of very privileged permit holders that get to graze on public lands, and you furthermore realize that you have conversations with ranchers in Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, Wyoming, raising cattle on private lands that don't even realize that their contributions from taxes, from the money they have to pay to the USDA, all of these things are hindering them from a competitive standpoint when these people are actually the government is subsidizing their competitors. Then you bring in all of the other animal welfare plea side of it. This is an issue where no matter where you stand on the animal welfare side, you also have to look at it from a tax standpoint too. And when the government is subsidizing things that aren't good for animals and aren't good for industry and competition, it becomes a very hard thing to wrap your head around.
I mean, for me, I see, it's the horses, it's the wolves, it's the other endangered species, and these ranchers who are using public lands acting like they're their own backyard.
Yeah.
Why aren't all of these agencies working together as one enormous, unified unit?
It's a great question, and I think from our experiences, we've witnessed corruption within the agency. I mean, I don't know why they won't work. I think there needs to be a top-down reformation of the agency. I think that there's just too much bad blood in there, and you go out and you actually go to these roundups and I don't want to make a black and white statement that everyone in the Bureau of Land Management is a bad person. That's of course not true, but we encountered some people that it was almost like there was an empathy cog missing in the way that they treated the horses, or not allowing us with our cameras as journalists to actually even go and see things that it's our constitutional right to see, and blocking us and telling me I'm going to get arrested if I go try to bring a camera and go on the other side of the mountain to see what they're doing to the horses. So I think that level of there's almost a numbness to how the horses are treated during those roundups, and I think that if you approach it from the ground level like that, how is it really being looked at from the top? I think there needs to be a great deal of reform.
I follow this a lot, and I'm starting to see that there are definite voices in Congress right now.
Yes.
Who are saying, hey, we need to really pay attention to this, because there's a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a really, really broken system, as many are, and they're being exposed today. Would there be a part 2 of showing this, like, hey, this is where we're moving to, or some sort of maybe series that you...
We've discussed it. We've also discussed doing eventually a cut down of the film for educational purposes, and getting this film into schools and maybe having a version of it that younger children can watch, because a 10-year-old who is strong can watch this film. We often say we didn't include the worst that we saw because it's really hard to see horses with broken legs, or we walked a really fine line because we felt like it was very important for the younger generation of advocates to be able to see this film, and for people who love horses to not shut it off because it's just too much to handle.
Correct.
So I think the part 2 would really be, we're trying to push forward a hearing in Congress. There's some good legislation that's being introduced, and we're hoping that as filmmakers we can use our skill set to get the word out, because there's never been a wild horse documentary that has done what Blackfish has done, or the Cove for their respective species. So it's our sincere hope that if we're lucky enough to get this film to break through, that we can incite that wave of awareness that's critical to starting to make change. And the biggest thing people can do for us right now, post the trailer, hashtag I stand with wild horses, and then if you want to go a step further, tag your members of Congress.
Yes.
And let's create this wave of change. The movie comes out in May of this year.
Yeah.
And where is it going to be?
Yeah.
It'll be available on all video-on-demand platforms. There's some work being done in terms of which streaming platform, but you'll be able to get it on iTunes, Google, your cable providers, all of those.
Excellent. We will
various
do that.
places.
And then it's also screening tonight here in Sedona,
It
correct?
is.
Yes, we're very excited
7
to be
o'clock
here.
tonight.
So get in the rush line, folks. It's beautiful. The footage is beautiful. It does have a point that is going to hit home that many of us here in Sedona are very tied to. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
so
for bringing
much.
this film to us. And thank you for being my last interview. With the
You're
festival.
You're done. Go
So
take a
this
nap.
is it. I know, right? And it's bittersweet because we love this every year. We get to have people like you in the seat, and it's remarkable.
Thank you. What a spectacular place to exist. I mean, Sedona is stunning. We're excited to spend some time here.
Well, I hope you come back. I hope you make a part 2 or at least something else that you both get to come back and enjoy more of this festival.
Thank
That
you.
would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Everyone out there in the Webiverse, thank you for this week. Thank you for another successful year of amazing filmmakers. Thank you for all of it. It's the best festival in the world, filmmakers. You want to come out here with us. And stay tuned because tonight we're going to have amazing films here in Sedona and another party. Tomorrow we'll have winners out there for everyone to see. And then you're going to want to catch all of these wherever you can, wherever they're streaming, what other festivals they're in. We've given you hashtags. We've given you their websites. Please help independent film stay independent. Support all of our filmmakers. And this year's hashtags, once again, for the last time, SIFF 23 and Sedona Film Fest 23. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Much
you.
love.
Thanks.